At 76, I was still cleaning houses to get by when I overheard my wealthy son ask, "So, are you using the $15,000 wisely?" My hands shook. I had never seen that money. His smile disappeared, and he turned toward my daughter-in-law. The tension in the room was unbearable. Before we continued, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. My name is Margaret Harris, and at 76, I never thought life would feel so cruel. Since my husband passed away, money had been a constant shadow. I picked up work cleaning houses, not strangers' houses, but my own son's mansion. He paid me $20 an hour, and though the irony cut deep, pride doesn't pay rent. I needed the money for food, for medicine, for keeping the lights on in my little studio apartment. That Tuesday, I was kneeling in the foyer of his marble palace, rag in hand, when I heard him ask his wife, my daughter-in-law, Vanessa, a question that made my stomach twist. "So, are you using the $15,000 wisely?" My hand froze mid-scrub. 15,000? I had never seen $15,000 in my life. Not all at once. I set down my rag and stood, my knees screaming. "What money, Robert?" I asked, my voice trembling. My son turned to me, confusion etched on his face. "The $15,000 I've been transferring to your account every month. For 3 years. Mom, what do you mean you've never seen it?" The words knocked the air out of me. "Robert, I work 6 days a week to keep a roof over my head. If I had that kind of money, do you think I'd still be living in a drafty studio apartment, cleaning toilets just to survive?" I saw Vanessa stiffen, her manicured fingers tightening around her coffee cup. She glanced at Robert, then away. "There must be a mix-up," she said too quickly. "Maybe the bank made an error." But Robert had already pulled out his phone. He scrolled, his jaw tightening. Then he showed me the screen. Row after row of transfers. $15,000 every single month. Deposited into an account under my name. But the account number didn't match mine. Not even close. Robert's voice cracked. "Vanessa said she set up a new account for you. Something about your old bank charging fees. She told me this would be safer." I turned to her then, really turned. And suddenly, all the little pieces of my suffering over the last 5 years began to rearrange themselves into something ugly and undeniable. The missed holidays, the excuses about why I couldn't babysit my grandchildren, the subtle way she'd pushed me to the sidelines. "Vanessa," I asked, my voice low and dangerous, "what account did you set up for me?" Her cheeks flushed, but she forced a smile. "Oh, Margaret, it was so long ago. I don't remember the details." 3 years isn't long ago, Robert shot back. "Mom, do you have any paperwork? Statements, cards?" I shook my head, fighting back tears. "Nothing. Because I never saw a cent." Robert's gaze flicked between me, frail, worn, hands raw from bleach, and the glittering chandeliers, the designer furniture, the Mercedes parked out front. Slowly, the realization hollowed his face. "My God," he whispered. Vanessa tried to retreat. "I'll just check on the kids." But Robert's voice snapped like a whip. "No. Stay right here." That night, Robert barely slept. By morning, he had called the bank. We sat in his study, listening on speakerphone as a representative explained the account ending in 8935. It's a joint account with Mrs. Vanessa Harris as the primary holder. Jennifer Collins, the name she had used for me, is listed only as a beneficiary. In other words, I had no access. None. My money had been funneled straight into Vanessa's hands. The bank sent statements. We spread them across his mahogany desk like crime scene photos. Every month. $15,000 IN. Then out again, on luxury spas, boutiques, jewelry, and transfers to her investment accounts. Robert stared at one entry, $20,000 to a car dealership. She told me her aunt left her an inheritance, the month she bought her Mercedes. I remembered that lie. I remembered standing outside, watching her rev the engine with a smile, while I walked to the bus stop. It was all bought with my suffering. When Vanessa finally walked into the study, her expression was carefully composed. I think we need to talk. Robert's jaw tightened. Yes. About where $500,000 of my mother's money went. She had the gall to wave it off. You're exaggerating. I was protecting her. She's elderly. Do you expect her to manage such large sums? I invested for our family. Something inside me snapped. Protecting me? You call letting me scrub toilets while you pamper yourself protection? Her mask cracked. You're ungrateful. We gave you purpose. We could have just put you in a nursing home. The venom in her words shocked even Robert. He looked at her as though seeing her for the first time. She shouted. It wasn't your money. Robert sent it, not you. You didn't earn it. Robert's voice went cold. It was for my mother. For her to live. Not for you to build a secret empire. In that moment, Vanessa's reign was over. But I wasn't finished. I dug into her past. Using public computers at the library, I followed her trail. Her maiden name, old court records, whispers of inheritances gone missing. A grandfather's estate in Ohio. A wealthy widow's fortune in Michigan. Vanessa wasn't just greedy. She was a predator. And she wasn't alone. In the neighborhood where I cleaned houses, I began talking to other elderly women. Patterns emerged. A daughter-in-law here, a niece there, always helpfully managing accounts. Always followed by sudden losses, by claims of forgetfulness and incompetence. One woman, Mrs. Patterson, broke down in tears. Her grandson's wife, a close friend of Vanessa's, had convinced the family she had dementia. The proof. Bank statements showing thousands spent on spas and handbags. But those weren't her charges. They were Vanessa's. I knew then, this wasn't just theft. It was an operation. Robert and I set a trap. Mrs. Patterson called Vanessa, pretending she had found irregularities. We hid a recorder. I listened from another room as Vanessa's sickly sweet tone turned to poison. Mrs. Patterson, she purred. You're confused. Memory loss is common at your age. Keep pushing this, and your family might decide you can't live alone anymore. The threat was chilling. When Robert played the recording back to her face, Vanessa finally dropped the act. Fine, she screamed. I used the money better than she ever could. She's old, Robert. 76. How much longer did you think she'd be around? The silence that followed was heavier than stone. Robert's voice, when it came, was barely a whisper. Get out. She tried to fight, but it was over. Within weeks, the FBI swooped in. Our recording had opened the floodgates. Investigators linked her to dozens of cases. Over $2 million stolen. She was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison. When the restitution came, Robert insisted on setting me up in a sunlit apartment overlooking the park. My cleaning days were done. My grandchildren, once kept from me, now spent weekends baking cookies and telling me about school. One day my granddaughter asked, Grandma, why was Vanessa so mean to you? I thought for a long moment. Because sometimes, sweetheart, people forget what's truly important. They think money is more valuable than love. Seeing Vanessa's face in court, her carefully polished mask shattered, her voice rising in desperate pleas as the judge read out her crimes, was the sweetest justice I've ever tasted. She thought she could erase me, silence me, steal my dignity. Instead, I became her downfall. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Never let anyone convince you that your age makes you powerless. Sometimes the strongest revenge is simply refusing to disappear. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and subscribe for more tales of betrayal and justice. And tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? I'd love to hear your stories.